Hi everyone, I'm Linda from Purple Rose Digital, and in this video I'll show you how to make this beautiful organizer in shabby chic style with pink roses and white lace. We'll start with the pages. As you'll see, the pages have some of them have the spine on the left and some on the right, and basically we're going to join them together. So there's 6 pairs, so you have 6 double pages in the end, giving you 12 pages that you can use to organize ephemera, or you can use it as a year organizer. So there's 12, one for each month. So we're just going to join pairs together by overlapping the spine area, and you can choose which one you want on top. It doesn't matter. You can do each one differently, left over right or right over left. It really doesn't matter, so you can choose which one of the spines you would like to be on top, and you're basically just going to place your glue on the whole spine area. Let me just flatten these folds. I've already folded them, but I didn't flatten them yet, so I'm just going to flatten it and make that fold nice and crisp and sharp. And then we're just going to join them together by placing glue on either one of them, and we're going to overlap those 2 spines. So it's really easy to do this part. I'm just going to grab my craft glue. You can use your preferred glue, and I've printed everything on what we have here is what we call whiteboard or cardboard. It's 160 gram, or I think the equivalent is 60 pounds cardstock in other countries, but most printers can handle this thickness. It's not that thick. It can go through a printer that's even bending your paper as it goes through. So you want to put it right into the fold, not over the fold line, but you want it to go right up to that fold line so that it's completely overlapped on the spine areas. And you're just going to press down, make sure it's glued on very well and flat everywhere. So it's how it's going to be when it's closed, and you can see the 2 pages are joined and we have our first double page. So now we're going to go ahead and start with the pockets. I think it's easier to do the pockets now than after everything is glued together. You will struggle because you won't be able to press down on the pockets. You will see later on what I mean. So each double page has 4 pockets, or 2 per single page. A larger one that's got a bit of a gusset, and then a smaller one that's got your normal glue flaps that still creates extra space. So for the larger pockets, we are going to fold back those glue flaps, and best is actually just to score and fold them. But you're going to fold back on each glue flap, and then here's the tricky part that comes next is once we folded each glue flap inwards, we're going to fold them back outwards. So you're going to fold half of the length of that back outwards. So you'll see that just now. I'll go slow for this part so you can see what I'm doing. So just finish folding in that 3rd glue flap on the larger pocket, And you can flatten these folds as well if you want, but they're not as crucial. So you can just fold them by hand if you want. So we're going to do half of that width of the glue flap that we're going to be folding back. I hope you can see what I'm doing. The best is to score it slightly and fold. It's actually easier if you mark out, or not mark out, but score that half width before you cut these out. So when you have your whole paper, I found it with the other ones, I did it that way around. I scored them before I cut them out, and that worked a bit easier than this. But you can see sort of getting the half width of that glue flap, scoring and folding again back towards the outside, and it creates a little accordion fold for a gusseted pocket. So this organizer has plenty of space to hold your ephemera, or if you're using it as a year organizer, um, it has plenty of space for each month to put in your bills or things you need to remember in that particular month. You can also use it as a way to prompt for journaling if you want to add in some items or prompts for each month, and then you take it out and okay, that's what I'm doing this month. So that's also a fun way to use it. It makes a beautiful gift as well. So again, I'm just going to get half of that width there, score, and fold that back out. So I have a accordion sort of fold for that glue flap as well. So you're going to do all 3 glue flaps of the larger pockets. The sides and the bottom is going to have this little accordion fold to make a gusseted pocket that will give you that extra space to add in all your goodies. So again, I'm just going to try this one again. Just go and fold it out. It's a little bit hard to get half of the width by just eyeballing it. I did stuff it up a bit, yeah, as you might see. But if you want to measure it out, by all means. And I'm going to trim that off on the final design. I've already trimmed off the side ones for you at the bottom, so don't mind that, but you'll see me trimming them off because I didn't realize beforehand that they shouldn't overlap. And I just trimmed them with the scissors, but on the final design that you're going to be printing, they're already trimmed off. So you can see how that is folded back, and that little part where I'm going to trim again on yours, it's already trimmed off. So once I've done that, I'm going to do the last side of this larger pocket. I'm going nice and slow so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to once again get half of that width, trying it the other way around because I'm right-handed, so it's a bit, sometimes you have to move around or things around or put them upside down or whatever so that you can use your dominant hand. Okay, so I've folded that one back and I've got my 3 sides with the accordion fold glue flaps. Just again quickly going to trim that off. Sorry about that. It's now completely irrelevant to you really. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue them onto each page by starting with the bottom glue flap. If you can think of an easier way, you're welcome to do it another way around. I think this is probably for me the easiest way. Let me just get some distress ink. This is a very light pink. I don't think you guys will even see what I'm doing, but it just takes that little bit of white away, especially on the edges where you've cut your top. The other edges won't show much, it won't show white because the flap is there, but I'm still putting a little bit of ink just to give that faint little bit of pink outline. And I'm going to do the other pockets as well. On this you can see it a little bit more. Of course you don't have to do this step, or you can do a much darker distress ink. You can do a different color, it doesn't have to be pink as well. You can do some brown if you want a more vintage or aged sort of look on your item, but this is a shabby chic sort of style, so it's more pink and light colored, not so much vintage. Okay, I think before I start gluing them on, I'm actually going to do the other one as well. So I have my 4 pockets ready. So you can see again how I did the flaps. So I'll just grab this. I hope you can see there from the side sort of what it looks like. It's a little bit hard to show this kind of thing on a video, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. And I'm just going to grab the other one and show you again on the other one how it is done. So as with the previous one, I'm going to fold in all the glue flaps in once, and I find it best to have my ruler there to fold. Even if I did score, I find when you just have the ruler there, you still get a better fold than without a ruler. So I'm just going to flatten the fold on this one a bit. It went a bit skew there. I'm just going to fix that. So hopefully this second demonstration will show you if there was anything you were unclear about. Okay, so half the width. This time I'm doing it the other way around and having the front facing me. I don't know if that's easier. Fold in once, half the width, fold in, fold out, back out. Fold in once, score half the width, fold back out. And I'm just going to trim that you don't have to do. And we're ready to go. So now I can glue on the pockets. I'm just going to grab my double page that I've joined, and I can also ink these edges of the page just to get rid of that bit of white from the paper that is sticking out. So even sometimes if you're using a color paper, you'll see when you cut there's white sticking out, because not all papers are colored all the way through. But of course, especially when you're printing, only your top has your color and your white will always stick out where you've cut or where there's no print, obviously. Okay, so we're going to start with the bottom glue flap. This is a little bit tricky because they are a bit, how can I put it, like a bit of like a spring pushing up, because they are folded back like an accordion type of fold. So you have to push down on your pocket so you flatten that gusseted flap there, glue flap there. That little accordion fold, you need to flatten it when you are gluing your pocket down. So we're just going to place our glue, your preferred glue. Obviously you don't want to put too much and glue shut your whole pocket. I'm just going to spread this a little bit. I've got a bit too much. I'm sure you have noticed I tend to use a bit too much glue. Okay, so bottom glue flap first, and I'm going to press down so that it flattens that accordion fold glue flap, and I'm going to make sure that it's aligned with the bottom and aligned with the sides of my page, especially on the spine. You don't want it to go over that fold at the spine, because then your book or your little file organizer rather won't be able to close and turn pages properly. So once that's a bit dry, we can do the two sides. And this is a bit more tricky because I don't know, you'll see what I mean, because you have to really push in those flaps so that they don't press outwards and go where they're not supposed to go. And I'm going to do both at the same time. You can do one at a time, but it's really hard to get in there with your glue. If you may be using a different type of glue, you might be able to do one at a time easier. But I'm going to do both, and I'm just going to show you what I mean by pressing down. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to press in those flaps. This does get a bit messy. See, I'm pressing it in so that it doesn't push out past the edge of my page or past the pocket. And I'm going to continue to press down, especially at the top and towards the bottom. Make sure you have it pushed down into the bottom of the pocket. I don't know how to explain it, but you might find that when you flip it over, it's a bit more towards the top, and you have to press that whole pocket down to make sure you are not you haven't pulled up the pocket further than its actual length. So there you see I've got my first pocket, and my page is closing because it's not over that fold line. You see there, you don't want to go over that fold line. And we're going to do the other one on the other side. Same story, we don't want to go over the fold line of that spine. We're going to start with the bottom and then the two sides. So again, just be careful to not put too much glue on this glue flaps, because you don't want to glue shut your pocket. Almost said envelope. Pocket. And again, we start with the bottom, push it down so that the alignment is straight and aligned with the bottom of your page. Same with the sides. Push them in and down so that you can have the flaps underneath the pocket, and not sticking out past the front of the pocket or the page. And there you have it. There it's closed. You can see it's got plenty of space to add your items. And we're now going to add the two smaller pockets. These are a lot easier because you're just going to glue them on with the glue flaps. And you can even do all three at once, because they are not as tricky as the ones that have that accordion sort of fold on the glue flaps. So you'll see each of them looks a bit different. I like to have a lot of variety, because typically you are using scraps and things that you have gathered in the same theme. So I try to sort of mimic that variety that you would get from using scraps of paper or whatever stuff that you found. So I'm gonna go ahead and Do just the bottom flap so you can see it that way. But with these, you can actually do all three at once if you feel up to it. So with this, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to glue on the bottom flap. Just press it nice and flat, and we are aligning it with the bottom of the page and the larger pocket right on top of that larger pocket. I'm just going to press down and make sure that that is glued on properly. And then we can do the two side flaps, and I'm going to do them together. As with the other things, it's hard to get in with your glue once you have one side glued on, so it's just easier to do both depending on the glue you're using. If you're using something like a double-sided tape, that's a different story. I'm going to glue that down, make sure that it is stuck on there properly, and that's that pocket done. And we'll do the other side, and as you can see, these are quite easier and will go a bit quicker than the larger pockets. So again, I'm just going to place my glue on the bottom flap and glue that on first. As I said, you can do all three if you feel like you will handle that quite easily. When I was making the other ones later on, I did actually just glue all three flaps at the same time because these are quite easy. And glue the sides down, make sure it's on there properly, and there you have it. That's your pockets done. And we're going to do this for all the pages, so you have your 6 pages that you're going to do this with. And before I show you the rest, I'm quickly going to show you how I decided to do mine, to decorate mine. And I went with the year organizer, so there's also ephemera labels that I've showed you just now, and you can use that. There's a bunch of blank labels, so you can completely make this your own and put on the labels that you need for your organizer. I've decided on the years, the months of the year, and I'm going to decorate with some beautiful lace. And I've actually alternated with pink and white, but I'm going to show you one of them. This is just a way I like doing it with the lace, but you don't have to do it this way. You can use your normal fabric type of glue, or even that similar craft glue that I was using later on. I did use that on some lace, but for this I'm just going to put a piece of double-sided tape. What I like about it for the lace is that it also keeps the lace straight for you, so you can glue it on a bit more straight than when you have just your normal wet glue. So when you're working with lace, you only want to place glue or tape or whatever you're using on the thicker part of the lace that is not really so much see-through or full of holes. So especially when working with wet glue, you are going to have some glue coming through your lace. It's just one of those things, but obviously you don't want that to happen too much. So I'm just going to glue a strip of lace sort of in the middle of the smaller pocket, and on top of that I am going to place my label. And as I said, I'm going with the months of the year, so if you're doing that one, just make sure you get it in the right order, because you're going to have your 2 months, say January, February, on the same double page, and then you don't want to get them mixed up because they need to match up in order of the months as they go, obviously. So on, I'm just gonna glue my label. You'll see on the videos the text on the labels were a bit too faint. So in the final design, I did brighten up that white text, so you'll see it much better on the final design. This is now all the pages finished. I've done my 6 double pages and I've put them in the order that I want them. And you'll see I also used some white lace. Please excuse the print on the back there. Yours will likely just be white everywhere. I had to reprint some items and I didn't want to waste the card stock, so I just reprinted on the back because it's not going to be seen anyway. But I do apologize if that looks a bit confusing. Yours will be white. So we're going to glue together all the blank white sides or the back sides of the pages. I'm starting with the last one, so my November December page, and I'm just gonna make sure I've got enough glue on here that it doesn't pull loose, because this is gonna obviously be used quite a bit when you are organizing and flipping through your organizer to find things. So once we've got our glue on, we're going to take the next page, which is October and September, October, and I'm just going to make sure that I've got it properly aligned. This bit is a bit tricky because if you don't do this right, you're going to end up with a really wonky flip file. But just make sure you get your edges aligned as good as you can. You'll see mine isn't perfect. There's quite a bit of wonky bits and pieces because this was my first make of this type of item. I'm sure with the next one I'm gonna do so much better. But I'm very happy with the way that it turned out anyways. So don't be too hard on yourself if yours is a bit wonky here or there. The spine cover and that will help to hide that quite a bit and to pull your file together in a sense that it's not skew or so on. Okay, so as usual, I think I used a little bit too much glue. You can see my page is a bit wet. But here you go, I've got all of them glued on together now. So that's all 6 of the double pages. And now we can do the cover. So there's a front and back, they look the same, so it doesn't really matter which one, but there's 2, so for the front and the back. And then there's the spine. I've already scored and folded it, and it's just gonna go over the 6 double pages like that. And you see it will sort of help to pull it a bit straighter in a sense. Now this is very important. We're not going to place glue. We're only going to place glue on that flap there, not all the way up to the spine, not in the middle. We don't want to glue the backs of those double page spines onto this spine cover, because then your flip file will have a really hard time moving and you won't be able to page through it. So we're only going to place glue on the flap parts, so the parts with that sort of beigey print, same as the other glue flaps. And of course it's going to be on the inside of that. And we're not even going to go all the way up to the fold to be really sure that we don't glue that spine shut and make it unable to move. We're going to glue right about up to there. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. So we're not even going to put our glue all the way to the fold, only more to the outside, say 2/3 of the flap is what we're going to do. So there, I've put that line now. So we're going to make really sure we don't glue that onto the spine. There you can see there's quite a bit of open space there without any glue. And we're going to put that on. Make sure we have it the right side up, so the small roses are towards the top. We can put it the other way around. This print, even on the pages, is quite forgiving. You won't really notice if you put one of them upside down, but that's sort of the direction of it, is the smaller roses at the top. So I'm just going to press with my one hand below that page, and then at the top. This is a little bit tricky because we have the bulk of this flip file now underneath, and you cannot just press down on it, as you will squish your flip file flat, and we don't want that. I'm going to turn it around, and then I'm going to press on the inside as well. Make sure I've got that in there nice and flat. And then we can do the other side of the spine cover. Again, excuse the print on mine. Yours will probably be white there. I know it looks a bit confusing. I'm sorry about that. So again, we're going to place a glue about 2/3 towards the outside of that glue flap. We're not going to go all the way in up to the fold. Today I was having quite a bit of trouble with this glue. I had to reopen it many times. Okay, so let's try again, and we're going to do that all the way up to there, not all the way up to the fold. And we're going to gently push that over and push it down, and make sure now on this one that it is aligned with the top and the bottom. You sort of want to manipulate it a little bit, as this will also help to pull any misalignment into place. It is a bit tricky, don't stress too much. So I'm going to show you what I did with some lace, just to cover it up a bit and make it look really nice. So once you've got that aligned, just make sure you press down as I did with the front side, and make sure that that glue is on properly everywhere that it needs to go. Okay, so that's that done, and we can then do the front of the cover and the back of the cover, and then you're going to see how nice it is going to look. So here's my front again, and I'm just going to glue that on and align it properly with the back of that page. It's really not tricky. You just glue it on and make sure it doesn't stick over anywhere where it's not supposed to. And for this, I'm also going to make sure I'm using enough glue. I don't want it to come off when I am opening and closing my flip file. So go all the way to the edge with your glue. You don't want the edges to be popping up either. And of course you want your glue in the middle as well if you're using a wet glue like this. And I'm just gonna gently pick it up, try not to get glue everywhere on myself, and I'm gonna flip it over and glue it onto the front. And I'm sort of gonna let it slide around a little bit so I can squish my glue everywhere that it needs to go. I'm just going to make sure that's aligned nice and straight before I really start pressing down. I've learned with this glue is if the moment you start pressing on it, that is dried, or basically dried, stick it, then you can't move that thing anymore. So before I start to press down, I always need to remember to check if everything is in place. And I'm just going to use my hands on the top and the bottom of this and just press everywhere and make sure that it's glued on properly, nice and flat. And you can turn it around again if you want, put it on your table and press down some more. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think this looks so beautiful. And we'll do the back side. Okay, so it goes the same. I'm gonna get my glue on here everywhere. Make sure it's gonna be glued on properly. And I'm gonna flip it over and glue it down onto the back. And I'm gonna press and make sure that everything is aligned and glued on properly. So that looks really good. This is so pretty. It's so soft and feminine. I just love it. I guess that's the appeal with Shabby Chic. It's so soft and feminine. Okay, I've got some beautiful lace that I've been dying to work with. It's so fine and just so it's just beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it around my spine like this. You don't have to do this, but of course you can go crazy and decorate as much as you want or as little as you want. I'm more minimalistic, but um this definitely adds such a nice touch. So as I've mentioned with the lace, you want to put your glue on the thicker parts. This is the first time I'm going to be using this craft glue on this on lace. So let's hope and pray this works out. Um, I'm just gonna put some dots of this glue on the thicker parts of this lace. So I've got it sort of in the area where I'm going to have it. It's just loosely lying underneath my folio, but that's where I want to put it. So just make sure you know where yours is going to be going so that you also don't put glue too far down on the lace. Again, we are not going to glue down the spine area. You're only going to glue in the front and the back because you want loads of movement on your spine area. You don't want it to be restricted in any way. So I've got my glue on and I'm going to gently pick up the lace and put it into position and gently press down to make sure I get all that glue glued on where I wanted it to be. I'm not gonna be too rough and I don't want that glue to smear, because this lace is very thin and it will definitely come through. Well, that's not too bad. I'm happy with that. And I'm going to do the other side in the same manner. So I am just going to open that up and put my lace down on this little glue sheet and just going to check up to where I need to put some glue. Again, only in the sort of at the end of the lace, not the spine area, the middle area. Okay, so I'm just going to get my glue on this strip at the edge and on some dots on some thicker parts of the lace. And I'm going to gently pick it up and gently push down to let that glue attach. And now I'm just going to trim it off. You can add some extra material or strips of ribbon on the edges. You can layer different lace or material. You can go crazy and do whatever you feel like doing to decorate your organizer. I'm just going to trim off this lace and then I'm going to add the label. For mine it will be the year 2026. Yours might say Ephemera or whatever you decided on to use this for. Oh, look how beautiful that is. I love it. Who doesn't love some lace and roses? Okay, so there you have it. And now I'm just going to add the label. I've got a different piece of lace that's got some nice texture. I'm just going to add it there. I think that's a good spot. So I've just done the same with the glue, and I'm just gently pushing it down to glue it on. And then I'm going to glue on the label, and that's done. I must say I really like how this turned out, and it's really so beautiful. Okay, of course you can add even your own labels. You don't have to use mine. You can add hardware to your organizer. I've got these little corners that I've included for you that you can use if you want to, but you can add metal hardware if you want. So we'll quickly just do the box. This is actually really so easy. It might look
And we're just
daunting
going
at
to
first,
place
but
our
it's really
glue.
easy to make.
Of course, we
We're
need
going
to
to
fold
start
that. I'm
with
just going to
the spine and the front and back.
fold it on the line
Here in the wrong direction basically, and it does work better if you score lightly and then fold. And once I'm done, I'm going to fold that in the other direction. So we're just going to score and fold. You'll see I did mess up a bit there because I have print on the back that shouldn't be there. I did the wrong line, so I'm just going to redo that line. And again, yours will be white. I reprinted some items. Yours will be white on the inside, so you probably won't make that mistake. Just flatten that folds really nicely. You want nice and crisp folds for your box. As you can see, that's how it's going to go on. Really easy. And I'm just going to grab a glue sheet, and we are going to glue the spine and the front and the back together. And make sure to get your glue all the way to the edges. You don't want this box pulling loose. And that's that side. I'm going to do the other side. And I'm going to make sure I have my glue on everywhere and align those sides, back and front, and the spine properly so that it's one straight line. Now we can do the top and the bottom, and we're going to start with the little flap that's going to go onto the spine area. So I'm just going to fold all of these, pre-fold, and then fold them in the right direction. Okay, so simply just fold all the flaps on the lines so that they are nice and straight and crisp folds. So that's why I pre-fold on the front so I can see the line exactly, and then I go to the back and I score it a bit more deeply and I fold it inwards. So we're going to just do both of them, just fold both of them. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I've got all my folds nice and flat. I'm just going to flatten them because you want your box to have those nice sharp edges. Let's do the other one. And now we are ready to glue them on, and we're going to do the two little flaps first. One goes at the top of the spine and the other one goes at the bottom of the spine. And here you really want to make sure you get your alignment right. Make sure that it is aligned straight with that spine area. That's the other side. And that's that done. So what we're going to do now is we are going to glue on this side. So this is going to get a little bit more tricky, especially because we are working with a big item. But we will do one at a time. And I'm going to start with one of the sides, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to do one flap, glue that on, and then the other flap. And again, make sure you have enough glue right up to the edges, especially there where your fold lines or and at the very edge of the glue flap. Otherwise your flip file is going to get stuck on those glue flaps if they are standing up on the inside. You don't want it to catch on them. So they need to be nice and flat inside of your box. So you're gonna fold it inwards and glue it onto that side and just gently press until you have your alignment right. And just gently press with your hands on both sides. Just remove any excess glue. And I'm going to flip it around and just press on the table as well. Again, yours won't have any print on the inside. If you can print on the inside, but I feel like it doesn't really need anything on the inside. So yours will likely just be white. I didn't include even a backing paper because I really don't feel like this design needs it. But if you want, you can use something that you have to print on the back, or maybe even glue in a liner, but I don't know,
until
that
I
would
have it
be a
aligned
bit
properly.
difficult. So I'm going to do
And
the
so that the
other
glue
flap.
can
Sorry for
dry
going
in
off
that
screen a
place.
bit. But there
I'm
you
also
can
going to flip
see,
it around
and I'm just
again
going to
and
glue
press
that
down on the
on.
table.
So I'm going to bend the other side over this. Bend it down and again gently press. So just take your time and make sure your box is nice and neat. Of course, you can also decorate the box. I'm not going to do it in this video, but you can cover it with lace or material or ribbons and put labels on the box as well. I'm just going to keep mine plain for the video. So again, I'm just pressing down on the table. And now we can do the last bit. I will do one flap at a time again. Again, I'm going to put my glue all the way up to the edges and make sure that it's covered and won't have any loose bits that will pop up or pull loose. So I'm going to fold that in and glue that onto, let's say this is the bottom of that front side. Gently press and flip it around and press down. So the last one is going to be a bit more tricky because I have to get in here with my glue. It might get a bit messy, but at least this is a big item, so it's not a small one that you struggle to get in there. And press down and make sure that it's glued on nice and flat. And I have only one little piece here that I'm going to trim. That's a bit sticking out a bit, so I'm just going to trim that off. So I'm just going to trim off this one corner. So it turned out pretty good. It's only like one little piece that I need to trim. And that's the box done. Now we can just see how the folio fits in here. And it goes in beautifully. And that is your finished flip file organizer. Make sure to visit my Etsy store for more beautiful items to make.